Let's look at scheduled tasks on our Synology NAS. Now we're going to open up our control panel on our desktop here on the DSM, and we're going to navigate to Task Scheduler. Now what Task Scheduler lets you do is a number of things that are going to be triggered at a specific time. So you can schedule tasks to happen at a specific time. Services starting and stopping. You can actually schedule a recycling bin to be automatically emptied. You can schedule a standard script to be run. A whole bunch of stuff. So it's actually really, really cool. Now in here, this is all the task schedules that I've already got set up. All of the tasks themselves that I've already got set up. A little bit of information that who's the owner, being root, being the root user, the application, what's actually happening, what's the application that is actually being used, the task, the action, and then the next run. All right. So the next run is when that task is then going to scheduled to run again. Now you can go and create a whole bunch of these yourself. So really, really easy to do. By clicking on the create area, you've got a couple of main areas, scheduled task and trigger task. We're going to look at scheduled task, and there are 4 specific areas in here. Let's look at each of these individually. We'll start with the top one being user-defined script. Now what we're going to do in here is you give it a name. So you could say this is my script. Who's the user going to be, right? Which user is the one who's going to be triggering that particular task. Now, in my case, I want it to be the root user, which is the highest level of permission, and we want to enable that task, or you can actually have it unticked so that it is not enabled by default. Scheduled, well, when do we want it to run? Do we want it to run daily, weekly, weekend, weekdays, and on what day do you actually want it to run? Run on these days specifically. So if it's not, for example, if it's a once off or you want to repeat it every month on this particular date, you can do all of that. When is the first time you want it to run? So this is when it's going to be running scheduled. And this is when do you want it to run for the very first time, okay? That's it there. Then you've got the task settings itself. Firstly is the notification. So send run details by email. So once the scheduled task is run, do you want it to get email to somebody to let them know that that has run? So you can send run details only when the script terminates abnormally as well. So if you want it to run when it's successful, yep, that's fine. But if you want it to only send you an alert when it's failed, you can tick on that second option. Here is the command. You go and create the command. This is a user-defined script. So you'll need to know a little bit about how to create a script. You can do that yourself. You can go and Google something that is going to be relevant around being executed on your Synology NAS. All right, that's the script option. The next one is recycling bin. Again, give it a specific name, schedule, how often do you want it to run and when, and what do you want this to happen, right? What's the actual trigger point itself? So empty recycling bins, you could say empty all recycle bins, or empty the recycling bin of the below shared folder only. And what is the retention period? Well, do you want it to delete all files, or do you want it to be only, delete the files, but you retain them just in case for 7 days? Or you limit the size of the recycling bin. There's a whole bunch of options in there. And of course, that will happen at the scheduled time that you have set. All right, so that is our recycling bin. The next option here being beep control. Do you want your NAS to beep when and when? And then the last one is the service, which is one that's actually quite helpful. Again, the name, the schedule, the task settings. Now here we've got stop service or start service. So at a specific time, do you want a specific service or an application to stop or to start? All right, so let's say, for example, you've got a particular service that you know is not needed at a specific time. You want to conserve some resources. You actually want to cancel a particular action at a specific time or start at a specific action at a specific time. You can select that one, you can tick it, you can stop it, you can start it, etc., etc. The next area is around trigger tasks. So when something happens, you trigger it, you then want this specific thing to actually happen. So at boot up, you want this script to run. At shutdown, you want this script to run, right? So there's a number of different things that you can do in there based on the user-defined scripts based on a trigger. So that's how you create a scheduled task. You can then do a whole bunch of actions around deleting, viewing the results of a task. So let's say I want this one here. You can actually go and delete that. You can edit it. You can run it manually, so you know that it's scheduled at this time, but you can actually execute that scheduled task manually as well. You can go into the settings to actually save the output results to a specific location so that you know exactly what's going on. All right, that's a little bit there around the task scheduler. It's a great feature. I highly recommend that you use it because you can see exactly what's going on, and you can also trigger events from starting, stopping automatically based on a time or based on a specific event.